We're common loaded for bear. All right, I'm out here waiting to pick the kids up from school. Wanted to go over what's been going on with the Nova. I did get it put back together. I scrambled on Saturday. It was my kids' jamboree, and I'm an assistant football coach. So we scrambled and went to Woodburn drag strip, which is close, like 45-minute drive. I got there at 2 o'clock. I was ready to go down the racetrack at 2:40. Made a pass, and basically they closed. So at least I got one test pass in. I came home, I pulled the valve covers, I made sure nothing was broken. Everything looks great. Retorqued the heads. Fix seems to be holding. No valve train issues, no rocker arm issues, no pulled out head studs, nothing goofy. But it was down on power. So I've just been analyzing the data logs. And a couple of things. One of them is that my old timing, I have two timing lights, and those smart coils seem to be sensitive to timing lights, or the timing lights don't like smart coils. So I have this old timing light that's from a Cummins tool sale, and it's cheap. It looks like the China Harbor unit, but the China Harbor unit I have can be finicky. And when I pulled them both out, I remembered, damn, I timed this thing with this other timing light. You know, I tend to not, that motor, Old Faithful, was in there for a couple years, and honestly, you get the timing set, didn't really think much of it. When I went into the tune, another thing that was slowing me down is, in a Hail Mary to kind of troubleshoot some of the problems with my car, I just turned the dump valves on for like 4 seconds. So that made it lazy. And then fire it up, I recheck the timing, and I'm missing like 4 degrees. So do that. So that would have impacted it. Also, I had a timing retard on, so the thing was just really kicked in the nuts. So I was missing some mile an hour. I feel like there's my mile an hour. Also, I was looking at my dwell settings, and one thing I don't know is I haven't really gone back and adjusted my induction delay. I thought it was based off the cam and crank sensor. I'm finding out, and I reuse those off my old motor, I'm finding out that the placement of them affects that. So I kind of ran it up underneath the hood as high as I could without looking at the tack and making sure it's not moving, but I really need another set of hands. Just, I'd like to flash a thing where all of my dwell table quits coming in. So I run a lot of dwell, and I feel like I'd like to get above the RPM where all of the dwell is in, and just make sure my timing's not moving as it's gaining RPM, because the induction delay is a sensor in the computer delay, so you're adjusting and compensating for the time it takes for those sensors to read and get back to the computer. Like I said, I thought it was dependent on the sensor, so if you change the camera crank sensor, I would of course recheck that, but reusing the same ones, I didn't realize, you know, they're several degrees off from where the old motor was, and that can impact that. So if I'm missing a couple degrees there, a couple degrees from the launch retard, I already have a safe timing table, and then I was missing 4 degrees at the crank. All that's going to add up, and all of a sudden you could be missing 10 degrees, and that's why it was a turd. So going to Reading, feel like things are going well. So I'm going to compile this into one video, but here's the test passes from Woodburn, where I'll throw those in here, and then hopefully we're at Reading and this thing is ripping. So wish me luck. Season's not over, but this is my last race, so yeah. All right, one last ride of the year. Let's get it. All right, we're gonna do a little race recap. Last race of the season, made it to Reading. I'm gonna piece this all together for you guys, so let's just get it going here.
pass 1. We're going to start this off. This was the first failure, right out of the trailer. I had low CO2, so I took this tank out, and it had no CO2 in it. And I took it to a paintball shop in Reading. Thank you, Sierra, for the ride. And anyway, it leaked right there. So I'm guessing sitting in the trailer with the stem in the bottle, there's an O-ring in there, failed. All right, pass 1. Got a little froggy here. That one's pretty munched up inside there. The other one, the other push rod, you can see this one just started to gall. And it got a new adjuster galling up here. And the push rod had a little heat in it, but it still made it in the spare box, just in case. Pass 1. I heard some rattling after the burnout. I was mad. I sent it anyway. Figured I'd kicked a push rod in the burnout. Well, we got 3. We didn't make the call the second round because we were changing a starter. And along with this first round triple push rod fail, I'm clicking this thing over, bumping this over, and my starter quit. Started just clicking. But lucky for me, we got the Napa Lifetime Reman Dodge Dakota mini starter doing work. I'm a Mopar guy at heart, and even though there's a lot of Hemi starters and stuff, you sure can't beat a good old Chrysler mini starter. Yes, sir. So we got that changed, but we missed the call to the second round. We go up for the third tester, and it starts to rain. So the night's over. We did have a great time hanging out with all the guys, helping on Mike's car, getting that thing. That thing's going to be a bad hammer. Mike Millay got himself a bad hammer. Anyway, we had a great time. Man, these guys are like my family, and this was just a ton of fun, hanging out, telling stories, kicking it after hours. Great time. So, get up the next day, do the maintenance on the car, go up. So I have no good data, but we get one tester in the morning. No good data because the motor's obviously not running on all the cylinders, and it was slow. So we go up, I do a baby burnout, and rip that thing. I changed tires right when we got to the racetrack on Thursday night. Anyway, so we had the tires on the day before for the first hit. We go back up, boom, make a hit. Push rod stayed in through the pass as far as I know, but in the shutdown, I heard the familiar sound. So get back, and the car was slow. Pass number 2 here. That did a good job. And this looked like a failure. Actually, this was riding in the rocker arm like this, and I was looking everywhere for this ball, worried that it had fallen down in the motor. And then I pulled this out, and I think this adjuster just failed, but it got the push rod. So that was pass 2. And I found some of the melted parts in there. Slower than we had wanted, and I'm looking at everything, and I got Cody Dow helping me, he picking his brain, and we thought maybe the thing was overfueling quite a bit. And then it was gentle on timing, so put a degree in it and leaned it out a little bit. So round 1 eliminations, here's that pass. Yeah! Pass 3, same rocker arm. Did the same thing again. These adjusters were new from Smith Brothers, So I put a trusty old bay in there. Thing picked up a couple mile an hour, picked up some ET. We're heading in the right direction. So draw, we had Dave Allman first round. We made it past Dave. We get Rocky, my buddy Rocky. So I raced my buddy Dave, and then we get Rocky second round, and did the same thing. A little bit of timing, like a degree, and checking the plugs. Don't see any heat in there. Leaned it out a little bit more, and it picked up 10 mile an hour. And I added 1.5 pounds of boost too on the hit, and dropped the 60 to a 105, and which is okay. I mean, we're heading in the right direction, and yeah, picked up 10 mile an hour, so that was big. And then we saw after that pass, so here's that pass. Here, no parts, because this pass didn't eat anything. And I checked for all these failures. I checked to make sure I didn't have debris in the rocker shafts that was like plugging up some oiling to the rockers. But anyway, saw that we had picked up some more converter slip, making a little more power. So we ended up on that pass. That was a personal best. It ran the number I was hoping it would run kind of all season. Finally got to test the chassis, and I mean, this thing just looks gentle, gently touches the bars. And I mean, we're feeding some power at the hit. So I mean, it's nice that all the chassis work I did in the winter finally paid off. We got to see that thing perform. I did a great job. So I draw the bye. My uncle draws the bye into the finals. So this was the semifinal round. There was 3 of us. There's an A side and a B side. Anyway, there was a great showing, good turnout. Anyway, draw the bye. So I didn't opt to make the pass, and they didn't make me break the beam, so that was cool. And just tinkered on it, and we put a tune-up in there. And I felt like we had a really good shot at winning, and there was a Wally to win. So there's big purse money, a nice runner-up and first place trophy, but there was also a Wally from the racetrack, which I've only ever raced for 2 of those things, and I really wanted that. So go up. Here's that pass. I don't want to spoil it. You all right?
The control car does not get past the 60-foot mark there. Troy Ball, your chance tonight.
So backing up, I saw the oil pressure drop, and so I shut the car off. And I thought, well, maybe it just sucked the dry sump out. And when I say the oil pressure dropped to 0. Shut the car off for a second. I fired it back up. 50 pounds, cool. Pull up, take the bulb. I thought too, like maybe the oil pressure sensor quit working or something weird. Anyway, fire it up, push back up there, and I'm at full wick on the 2-step. I bump in, I'm looking down for a second, watching the light, and I watch my oil pressure gauge drop to 0 again. And I let go of the button, and thing made it like 20 feet and just banged the rods out of the motor. So, and the moment you boys and girls came to see here, we got a full tank of oil. And when I got on the 2-step, I lost oil pressure right when I bumped in. I looked down at my boost to bump in here. anything back in there. That is a rod bolt sticking through there also. So catastrophic failure. We'll get this thing apart. You guys can tune in and find what I find here, but this motor's been a struggle bus all season. See you later. What a way to end the season. We got runner-up. We got some money in our pocket. You know, the car ran what I wanted it to run, so I was happy about that. There's so much more left in there, and the chassis was really encouraging. So been a struggle all season. I've never struggled so much, but got to stay positive, man. There's a really funny meme that I saw that said, everyone wants to be a race car driver until race cars do race car things. And I think that's just so true. So chin up. We'll be in the garage this winter, getting this thing right, maybe doing some upgrades. Just looking at parts today. We'll see. So thanks for following along. Like and subscribe, please. See you later.